You ever look at someone you've known for years and realize you don't actually know them at all? That's what happened to me with Stephanie. We were married for 6 years. We had history, routine, inside jokes, the kind of stuff that makes you think your relationship is solid. She was my best friend. At least I thought she was. Lately, though, something felt off. You know that gut feeling you get when things don't add up, but you tell yourself you're being paranoid? Yeah, that. At first, it was little things, too little to make a big deal out of. A shift in how she dressed, how she smelled. Not that she never cared before, but suddenly, it was perfume for errands, makeup for grocery runs, new lingerie, but I wasn't seeing it. Then came the distance, the late nights catching up on work, the phone she suddenly kept face down on the table, the way she started saying my name less and calling me babe more, like she was covering for a slip-up. I told myself I was being crazy, that I trusted her, that this was just my own insecurity messing with me. But then came the night that changed everything. I wanted to believe I was overthinking. But the problem with doubt is that once it takes root, it spreads. I started noticing things I would have ignored before. Her phone was practically glued to her hand, and when I'd walk into a room, she'd angle the screen away. Subtle, but enough to make my stomach twist. She used to be the type to leave it lying around, even let me play music on it. Not anymore. Then there were the work meetings. They stretched longer, ran later. I'd call around 9 p.m., and she'd be whispering, "Can't talk right now. I'll explain later." But she never really explained. One night, she came home smelling different. Not just perfume, like a mix of sweat and cologne that wasn't mine. I remember watching her undress, tossing her blouse into the hamper with this carelessness, like it didn't mean anything. And I wanted to ask. I almost asked, but something in me was afraid of the answer. So I let it go, or at least I tried to. Then came the business trip. 3 days out of town for some client presentation. She kissed me goodbye at the door, and for the first time it didn't feel right. Felt rehearsed. The moment she left, I had this gnawing feeling in my gut. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her closet, and that's when I found it. I stood there, staring at her neatly arranged clothes, feeling like an idiot. What the hell was I even looking for? A smoking gun? A shirt that screamed, "I'm cheating on you"? I almost closed the closet and walked away. Almost. But something told me to dig deeper. Buried under a pile of sweaters was a shoebox I didn't recognize. My first thought? Old love letters from high school or something dumb like that. But when I opened it, my stomach dropped. Inside were receipts. Hotel receipts. Restaurant bills. One from a bar we'd never been to. And tucked under them all, an envelope. I don't know why, but my hands were shaking when I opened it. Like some part of me already knew what I was about to find. It was a letter, handwritten, from him. "Last night was incredible. I hate sneaking around, but I can't stay away from you. Counting down the days until the next time I can taste you again." I read it over and over, hoping I was misunderstanding. That it was some old thing from before she met me, some stupid mistake from years ago. But the date at the top killed that hope instantly. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when she was supposedly at her sister's house. 3 weeks ago, when she came home late and fell asleep next to me like nothing was wrong. I was gripping the letter so hard my knuckles turned white. My chest felt tight, my vision blurred. I sat on the bed for what felt like hours, just staring at that letter, my mind replaying every stupid moment in our marriage. Every "I love you." Every time she reached for my hand. Every night we spent together while she was probably thinking about him. And the worst part? I didn't even know who he was. Not yet. But I was about to find out. I don't remember how long I sat there, staring at that letter, feeling like my whole world had just collapsed under me. But when the initial shock faded, something else took its place. Rage. I clenched the paper so tight it crumpled in my hand. My wife had been sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face, acting like everything was normal while she was off with him. And that's what I needed to know. Who was he? I went back to the shoebox, shaking it out onto the bed, hoping for another clue. And then I saw it. Tucked between the receipts and old notes was a hotel keycard. A generic one, no name, no address. But there was something written on the back. A first name, Ryan. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My vision blurred with pure fury. Ryan. I knew a Ryan. A very specific Ryan. Ryan Carter. My best friend. The guy who had been in my life for over a decade. The guy who was the best man at our wedding. The guy who came over for football nights and cookouts, who gave me advice when I needed it, who had always acted like my brother. Couldn't be him, could it? I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. That's when I had an idea. I grabbed Stephanie's laptop. She always kept it logged in, and she never suspected I'd go through it. I opened her email, feeling like my hands were moving on their own. Inbox, nothing obvious. Sent folder, normal stuff. But when I searched Ryan, my blood ran cold. Hundreds of messages. Some deleted but still sitting in her trash folder. I miss you already. Tonight was amazing. Same time next week. You make me feel things he never could. That last one hit me like a brick to the chest. I clicked on one of the most recent messages. It was from a few nights ago. A night she had told me she was too tired to be intimate. God, I can still feel your hands on me. I wanted to kiss you a million more times before you left. I love you. I love you. I shot up from the chair, knocking it over. My breath was coming fast and shallow, my head spinning. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. She loved him. I wanted to throw the laptop across the room. I wanted to scream. But more than anything, I wanted revenge. And I knew exactly how I was going to get it. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Stephanie and Ryan, laughing at me behind my back, touching each other, sneaking around while I was busy being the trusting husband. But I wasn't going to be that fool anymore. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw things. That's what they'd expect. Some messy, emotional breakdown. No, I was going to make them regret everything. The perfect opportunity came faster than I expected. Our anniversary was coming up, and Stephanie had suggested a backyard party. Nothing big, just close friends. And guess who was on the guest list? Ryan. Of course. The guy never missed a chance to be around us. Probably got a sick thrill out of being close to me while he was screwing my wife. So I agreed to the party. I even played the perfect husband, acting like I didn't know a damn thing. But behind the scenes, I was planning something they'd never forget. I tracked down Ryan's wife, Melissa. We weren't exactly close, but we knew each other well enough. I debated whether to tell her outright, but I needed her to see it for herself. So I invited her, and I made sure she had proof in her hands before she walked through that gate. A printed copy of the emails, screenshots from Stephanie's laptop, even a picture of that damn love letter. Her reaction, pure silence. Then, a slow, bitter laugh. I knew something was off, she muttered, gripping the papers so tight they crumpled. But I didn't want to believe it. That made two of us. We agreed no dramatic scenes. Not yet. We were going to let them dig their own graves first. And the moment they did, we'd bury them in it. The day of the party, I was the perfect host. Smiling, grilling, pouring drinks. And Ryan, he was right there, cracking jokes, slapping me on the back, acting like my best friend. And Stephanie? She was glowing. Maybe because she thought she was getting away with it. Maybe because she was sneaking glances at Ryan every time she thought I wasn't looking. Melissa and I locked eyes from across the yard. She gave me the smallest nod. Showtime. The moment came faster than I expected. Ryan and Stephanie were standing close near the patio, laughing at some private joke. She reached up, brushed something off his shirt. Too familiar, too comfortable. Then, she turned, walking straight toward me. I knew what was coming before she even did it. She leaned in to kiss me, playing the loving wife in front of everyone. And that's when I pushed her away, hard enough to make her stumble. The entire party went dead silent. I looked her straight in the eye, voice calm, controlled, but loud enough for everyone to hear. After you've used your lips on your lover, don't even think about coming near me. She froze, Ryan's face drained of color. Melissa. She stepped forward, holding up the emails. And that's when all hell broke loose. The silence that followed my words was suffocating. Stephanie's mouth fell open. She blinked at me like she had just misheard. Like she was still trying to process that I knew. That I had set her up in front of everyone. Ryan, standing just a few feet away, went stiff. His drink was still in his hand, but his knuckles had gone white around the glass. His eyes darted to mine, then to his wife, Melissa, who was still gripping the stack of printed emails. The backyard, full of our friends, our neighbors, was frozen. Conversations had stopped. Every single person was staring. And then, the explosion. Wah! What the hell are you talking about? Stephanie stammered. I let out a short, humorless laugh. She's really going to play dumb? You really think I don't know? I said, my voice cold. I found the receipts, the hotel key, the love letters. I turned to the crowd, holding up the crumpled letter I had stuffed in my pocket before the party. Let me read this for everyone, shall I? Her face drained of color. I unfolded the letter and read it aloud, my voice steady, each word hitting like a sledgehammer. Last night was incredible. I hate sneaking around, but I can't stay away from you. Counting down the days until the next time I can taste you again. Gasps. Murmurs. The energy shifted instantly. People weren't looking at me anymore. They were looking at Stephanie. I turned to Ryan. You recognize that, buddy? Or do I need to pull up the emails too? Melissa, stepping beside me, tossed the stack of emails onto the patio table. That's right, she said, her voice shaking with anger. You think I didn't notice, Ryan? The late-night work calls, the gym sessions that never made you lose a single damn pound. She turned to the crowd. They've been screwing behind our backs for months. Stephanie whirled on her. Melissa, don't. Smack. Melissa's palm connected with her face so hard the sound echoed through the yard. Stephanie gasped, stepping back, her hand flying to her cheek. You crazy bit. Oh, now I'm crazy? Melissa shot back. You weren't calling me crazy when you were crying about your boring marriage while screwing my husband, were you? Ryan finally snapped out of his stunned silence. Babe, listen. Don't you and babe me, Ryan. Asterisk. It was chaos. People whispering. A couple of guests literally walking out to avoid the drama. Others standing with their drinks, wide-eyed, like they had front-row seats to the best reality TV episode ever. Stephanie turned back to me, tears welling in her eyes. It's not what you think, she said, her voice trembling. I love you, I swear. This was a mistake. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Cold, bitter laugh. You love me? That's rich. Did you love me when you were sneaking into hotel rooms with my best friend? When you were lying to my face every single night? Her eyes flickered with desperation. It wasn't like that. I cut her off. I want you out. Tears spilled down her face. Please don't do this. Let's talk about it. No, we're past that. I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. You can pack your things tonight, or I'll have them on the lawn by morning. Either way, we're done. And with that, I turned away. The party was over. Stephanie collapsed onto a chair, sobbing. Ryan tried to talk to Melissa, but she was already walking toward the gate, tossing her wedding ring onto the ground. As I walked back inside, someone clapped me on the back. Dude, that was brutal, a friend whispered. I just exhaled. Brutal? Maybe. But it was nothing compared to what they had done to me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. The party ended in the most spectacular disaster imaginable. Stephanie sat on the patio, shoulders shaking, humiliated in front of everyone. She had spent months lying, sneaking around, pretending to be my wife while giving herself to my so-called best friend. Now, she had nothing. Melissa stormed out, leaving Ryan standing there like an idiot, his hands clenched into fists. He didn't chase after her. He didn't say a word to me either. He just stood there, watching as his world crumbled the same way mine had when I found that letter. But unlike me, he deserved it. That night, I didn't even have to tell Stephanie to pack her things. She must have realized the damage was irreversible because she barely spoke to me after the guests left. She just gathered her stuff with shaking hands, shoving clothes into suitcases, her face red and blotchy from crying. She tried one last time before she walked out. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered at the door. "I was lost. I made a mistake. You made a choice." I cut her off. Over and over again. "This wasn't an accident. This wasn't one bad decision. You built a whole relationship with him while lying to me every single day." She swallowed hard, her lip trembling. "Do you think we could ever?" "No." Her face crumbled. I didn't care anymore. She walked out, and I shut the door behind her. Ryan tried reaching out. Texts, calls, even an email. I ignored them all. Melissa, on the other hand, she made sure the divorce papers hit his desk within a week. And from what I heard through mutual friends, she didn't just leave him. She cleaned him out. Me? I focused on myself. First, it was hard. 6 years of marriage doesn't just disappear overnight. There were nights when I'd catch myself reaching for the empty side of the bed. Mornings where I'd expect her to be in the kitchen, sipping coffee like nothing ever happened. But then I remembered the hotel receipts, the love letters, the emails that spelled out exactly how little she respected me. And every time I did, the pain faded just a little bit more. Fast forward 6 months. I was in the best shape of my life mentally and physically. Got back into old hobbies. Reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with. Started going out more. Living for myself instead of revolving my world around someone who didn't deserve it. And Stephanie? Well, she reached out a couple of times. Sent long-winded messages about how she missed me, how she'd made a mistake, how she hoped I'd give her another chance. I never responded, because some betrayals don't get second chances, and some people don't deserve forgiveness. If you ever get that gut feeling that something isn't right, don't ignore it. People like Stephanie, they bank on the fact that you'll trust them, that you'll keep making excuses, that you won't look too closely. But once you see the truth, burn it all down and walk away. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, feels better than knowing you got out before they could ruin you completely. And that's it. The end of my story. No regrets. Just freedom.